This is from the early years of Star Wars and Sideshow. And this was when they did their original Greedo and Walrus Man. And with the most recent Sideshow, we'll call it re-releases, they basically redid the figures. They're not the same figures. But with their latest Cantina figures, I was kind of disappointed that it didn't try to redo this. I don't know why, but it also seems like they don't have any plans on doing this. They're kind of currently releasing the Cantina line that they promoted, solicited, and then they're going to be doing skiff guards from Return of the Jedi. This guy is not in that lineup. So I've always wanted this figure. I couldn't get it back in the day. Sideshow also had this weird thing with exclusives, and they would often have like an important item that the character should have that would be only for the exclusive version. So whether you could get this guy or not, you probably, the exclusives would sell out and they'd have more of the non-exclusive. So we'll get into why this is exclusive, but this is kind of a dream come true for me to finally get one. So the box art, like if you notice the overall design, Hot Toys has kind of, taken this design, carried it through with the, black background and, this kind of gray tapering that comes in. These kind of colorful subline logos, they don't really do. And they tend to do more of the shoebox style. Hot Toys nowadays do these shoebox style packaging. These boxes were, always the kind of more standard box style. But you've got the logo on the top. You got nice photography on both sides. You got UPC on the bottom, and then the back. This was always a nice thing, just very like, minus the front, the entire box has got some kind of photography or something going on. It's kind of interesting. They show off a lot of the other Cantina scenes. You see Hammerhead here, and then the rest of it is not Hammerhead. Just reminding you, like, hey, this guy was in this scene in this movie. All right, so enough of talking about the box. We will go over the inside. This is not a mint specimen, so there probably was some other material maybe covering this up. Maybe not. I don't think Sideshow got really crazy with like the protective plastic layers that Hot Toys does. So nevertheless, this is how the accessories are laid out. The exclusive gets this staff. The general release gets this gun. Something I didn't realize, this gun is filthy. You do not really see that in the online photography when this came out. I cannot get my camera to zoom. There we go. This thing is like dirty. It's like you can tell there's a black paint in undertone, but it's mostly brown with these light brown specks. It's like, somebody dropped this in the dirt and he picked it up and is using it to protect himself. And then you got basically a hand that can hold his staff and a hand that can hold his gun. Then we got the figure. We got the base. And I had already taken it out, but you get the crotch style figure stand holder thing. and a little gel cap. There we go. Let's take this off. And here he is. So, another thing about the old figures, the old sideshow figures, is they had some really loose hips. This guy's got loose hips. That's not a defect. That's not wear and tear. They just had loose hips. I've got a Batman that came out maybe 10 years after this. He's got the loose hips. They did basically their standard, what they used to call the Prometheus body, loose hips. I don't know what it is. Every time I got these figures, I often think like, they got the kind of engineering that like GI Joe and Masters of the Universe figures have from the 80s. I don't think they actually have rubber bands in them, but they are just loose. So, he comes with a stand. That's great. Uh, you're going to need the stand if you have one of these or ever get one of these. But the stand works good, so, nothing wrong there. See if I can do some adjusting here. Okay. And I do think it's a little disappointing that you got to pick, is he a pacifist or does he shoot people? I will say that this secondary hand, even though it's meant to just kind of be relaxed, you can put the gun in that hand. You can totally get away with it. I think technically this loose hand, even though he's not supposed to use it that way, you can just stick the staff in that hand and no one will tell. This is sitting on your shelf. So that's kind of one way to look at it. But the design work on the face, like the paint, is really amazing. You got to give it up to whoever came up with this design for A New Hope. It's very interesting in general, but the paint apps are done very well. There's kind of this greenish, brownish tone to it with some brown kind of dry brushing in the kind of breathing areas, a little bit darker brown, a little bit more reddish brown. There's some kind of darker wash that's bringing out all these different elements. And then there's something going on where there's like veins, and the veins aren't sculpted in. This is like painted on somehow. So it's really amazing design and paint work. And then the arms have a lot of texture. They have similar wash going on where there's like 3 or 4 layers of paint and then dry brushing. And then the legs, same thing, with the addition of even more variation with the toenails. Like these really look like toenails. And the bottom is flat, but there is detail as if this is a real creature. And I say flat, it's not completely flat, but it's predominantly flat on the bottom. And then he's got this faux leather belt, little brass clasps. It's got some weathering. Got this rope belt with it. He's got some pouches, for holding herbs or whatever. A little belt purse thing here. He's got his little handkerchief and his hood. That technically is a little back hood type thing. I guess it should kind of go up over his hump a little bit. Um, these figures, I was kind of complaining about the hips. They got a thing with the waist too. The waist tends to be a little loosey. This one isn't too bad, but it you give it enough time, leaning over with gravity, it will kind of bend over. But he's got a, I don't know how to describe the effect here, but there's like an undersuit, and then there is a sleeveless cloak coat thing. I don't know why I'm having a problem saying this, but can't quite think of what you call this. But the main thing is it's layered. There's multiple parts, just like the original movie prop. I believe that in real life in the movie, like all this exists. The arms, the legs, I don't think they exist. I think this was a puppet. So, you kind of see him in the corner, just kind of like, they're kind of moving his head around, but there's no arms. There's nothing else that you can see. All this stuff from like here down is like imagined. Uh, somebody with Lucasfilm or some partner, like somebody who made those role playing books back in the day or whatever, kind of thought up this other stuff, and Lucasfilm kind of signed off on it, and this is the official like costume of this guy, even though 80% of his body didn't exist in the movie. So just something fun to know there. All right, and now we're going to bring out the latest Sideshow Greedo and Ponda Baba. These guys don't have wonky bodies. The more modern Sideshow bodies are way better. I know there was a time, I don't know if this is still a thing, but there was a point in history like 2010 or 2007 or something like that. Sideshow started doing Troopers, and they made this big thing that they were partnering with Hot Toys for the underbody. I don't know if Hot Toys makes these underbodies now. I don't know if these are like completely designed and manufactured by Sideshow, but they're like night and day different from like 20 years ago. These are like real, nice modern, bodies. They have nice firm joints. They're great. So having these three together is pretty cool. The only other thing that would make me like super happy is if they did a Snaggletooth. Like do the dude from the holiday special, that Snaggletooth. That would be awesome. Companies kind of seem to be staying away with that. I don't know if that's a Lucasfilm thing. I don't know if it's just, other companies don't see that as a viable product, but I'd love to see a Snaggletooth to go with that. And especially since, that's part of like the original 4 Kenner figures, that would be really nice for somebody to do that. We'll see. You never know. But I will say overall, I'm pretty happy about this. This figure, for the most part, is a pretty great figure. Yes, the hips will be loose no matter how you acquire this figure, mint, not mint, pose, not pose. Those hips are going to be loose. The stomach is going to be kind of loose. The feet were kind of loose. I didn't go over articulation too much because he's a little wonky to get posed, but he does have what I think are ball jointed feet, which makes him hard to stand. But his arms are disc hinge style. He does kind of have, yeah, he does have a bicep swivel. He does have double elbows. He does not have the typical Hot Toy style wrist joint, like it's a fixed joint. The head is ball joint. There is a waist articulation point, like a dumbbell joint. And he also has like a squishy back. Like, this guy is meant to kind of have a slight humpback, and there's something back here that feels like beanbag material. It's just soft back here, I guess, to kind of help create this hump for him. But yeah, what else can you say? This is cool. You can find these on eBay. There's quite a bit of them out there. They're gonna go for like the non-exclusive, which means you won't get this and you'll only get the blaster. They kind of float around 400. The exclusive ones kind of float around 600. And then take those two numbers and then jack them way up. Like, I've seen people selling these for like 7, 8, 9, 1500. It's kind of crazy, but 400-ish, 500-ish is what you should be expecting if you're trying to get a hold of one of these. But let me know what you think in the comments. Still kind of surprised Sideshow didn't redo this guy, but maybe they decided to make him like a one of a kind type thing. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe, and as always, tune into more videos coming up. Thank you.